Thank you, Chaviji, for recording.
Generality and instances.
Yes. And what else? What did we compare? Did we compare? Yeah, it was just like comparing like collection generality and type generality, no? Something like this, no?
Yes, I think that was it, yeah.
Okay. Good. Perfect. And how many points did we find?
I think in the end it was 4P.
Yes, 4P between type generality and collection generality. Very good. Okay, so then we have the terminological division in three, yeah? Type generality, meaning generality, and collection generality, yeah? It's a terminological division because some collection generalities are not really generalities, yeah? Do you agree with that?
Yes, yeah.
Okay, for instance?
Pot and pillar.
Yes, pot and pillar, it follows they are not a type generality.
Except.
Yeah, they are not
Except.
because
They're not because there is nothing that can be both pot and pillar.
yes, exactly. Yeah. So yes, that's why in Tibetan they would specify. They would say the subject the two. Yeah, in order to say the concept, yeah, of pot and pillar. Yeah, because separately they are generalities. Yeah, separately. Yeah. Okay. Good. Okay. Perfect. And do you remember that if two phenomena are instance and its generality, they are necessarily one entity?
Could you repeat that, please?
If two phenomena are one instance and its generality, they are necessarily one entity. Yes, I see many yes, quite a few yes.
And it's general.
Good. Yes. Yeah, that's interesting, yeah. Because if you check in knowing, naming, and negation, at some point, there is one reference to Gyaltsabje in his commentary on the Pramanavartika. Yeah? He would say that for thought consciousness, when we think about all the pots, it seems that the generality pot and its instances appear like being separate. You know? They appear like different entities to the thought consciousness, but they are one entity. Yeah, very good. Yet subject says like they appear separate like the sky and the stars in the sky. It's beautiful. Yeah, and all the instances of one generality, they appear mixed to the thought consciousness. Yeah, yeah, like me, water would say. It's beautiful as well. Okay, so it follows that if two phenomena are one entity, they are necessarily one instance and its generality. If two phenomena are one entity, they are necessarily an instance and its generality.
Except.
Okay, we have one accent. I will count.
I think except two.
Yes, two accent. Who would say why? Yeah, it follows that if two phenomena are one entity, they are necessarily an instance and its generality.
Because it exists um and it is an object of knowledge, maybe.
Yeah. Okay. So if if the two phenomena are one entity, they are one instance and its generality because they exist and Palavila, what did you say? They exist and they.
Well, I said it's because also it exists and it's an object of knowledge because all objects of knowledge fall into some generality.
Okay. Interesting. Okay. Yes, interesting. So it follows that object of knowledge itself belongs to one generality, is an instance of a generality.
The object of an object of knowledge is an instance of a generality.
Yes. Okay. Okay. So, okay, just to clarify one point, it's not because that two phenomena are one entity that they have to be an instance and its generality. Yeah. Yeah. For instance, who would have some illustration?
Example, cup and its color.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. Cup and its color, yeah? Yeah. So the subject, the cup and its color, yeah. Today I have a red cup. Wow. Fantastic. The subject, the subject, the subject cup, the subject, the cup and its color are one entity. Yeah. Okay, they are one entity because
They appear as one to the direct perception.
exactly. Yeah, they don't appear separately to the same direct perception, so they are one substance. So if they are one substance, they are necessarily one entity. Yeah. Okay, very good. But a cup and its color, they don't share the relationship of instance and generality. Yeah. Do you agree?
Yeah.
Okay, very good. Fantastic. Yeah. So we could say also all equivalent phenomena, yeah, they are one entity, yeah. Yeah. Object of knowledge and existent, yeah. Color and suitable to be shown as a hue. Okay, so definiendum and its definition, yeah. Definiendum and its definition, yeah. Fire and hot and burning, they are one entity, but they are not instance and its generality, yeah. Yeah. Palavil, your mic.
You could pick one of the generalities. You could say the red cup is all cups. The red cup is all red objects.
The red cup is all red objects.
I mean, belongs to the generality of red color objects and
Yes,
red
exactly.
cup. Yeah, it could be either. You can pick one. You can't say it's not its generality. It's not a combination of its generality, but that's not what we were talking about.
Yeah, we could say that the subject red cup is an instance of cup. Yeah, or the subject red cup is an instance of red form. Yeah, okay, very good. Yeah, but the subject red cup is not an instance of red because the cup is not a color. Ah, okay, very good. Yeah, we still struggle with that, you know.
Yes, I'm still sure. I mean, it's not an instance of a color red. The color of the cup, red cup, is not an instance, is an instance of the color red.
Yes, very good.
Yeah. I have to separate out characteristics.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. Okay. So if they are instance and its generality, they are necessarily one entity. But if they are one entity, they are not necessarily an instance and its generality. Yeah.
Okay.
Very good. Okay, perfect. Fantastic. Okay, so we compared collection generality and type generality. We had So we have also the meaning generality. Oh yeah, yeah, oh yeah, yeah. So complicated. So of course, there are so many things to say about meaning generality. I have some slides just to find it. Just to find the slideshow. Okay. Yeah, okay. Good. Good, good. So if you want to look to the slides after, it's exactly the same slideshow. I just completed it in one sense. Okay. Good. So that's the third terminological division, yeah, in of the generalities. Okay. Very good. So, okay. Very good. So now we have one of the terminological divisions. For instance, the meaning generality of pot. Yeah, that which appears, the definition is that which appears as opposite from not being a pot to the thought consciousness apprehending pot. Wow. Okay. So that which appears as opposite from not being a pot to the thought consciousness apprehending pot. So we can find also another definition in the books. A superimposed factor that, while not being a pot, appears like a pot to the thought consciousness apprehending it. Yeah. So another kind of definition. Okay, and we will use this one. Yeah? Okay, so it follows you can posit the definition of the meaning generality of table. It's easy. Just replace pot by table.
So yeah, a superimposed factor that, while not being a table, appears like a table to the thought consciousness apprehending it.
Yes, very good. Yeah. So can you posit as well the definition of the meaning generality of space?
It would be similar. It'd be
Yeah, it's just to make
Yeah.
our tongue be familiarized with the terminology. Yeah.
yeah. So a superimposed factor that, while not being space, appears like space to a thought consciousness apprehending it.
Yes, exactly. So that's why any thought consciousness is mistaken, yeah, according to the Soul Trantika, eh? Because when you think about your shoes, yeah, you correctly think about your shoes, but what appears, what is the appearing object to the thought consciousness? The meaning generality of your shoes, yeah?
Mm-hmm.
And the meaning generality of your shoes is not your shoes because?
It's a conceptual image.
Yes, exactly. And your shoes, they are not a conceptual image.
Mm-hmm.
They are not because?
Because they're a functioning thing.
Yes, exactly. Yeah,
They
it follows that your shoes are functioning things.
Mhm.
Yes, they are functioning things because?
Because they perform the function of covering our feet.
Exactly. So if it follows that if it is able to perform a function, it's necessarily a functioning thing.
Except,
Yeah.
except, yeah.
Yes, Daniel, very good. Okay, so yes, the image of a pot is not a pot.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. Okay. That's why maybe you know everybody knows the Little Prince, this book, The
Mm-hmm.
Little Prince, yeah. That's why you know the pilot can never draw a sheep. He can
Mm-hmm.
only draw the image of a sheep. Okay, very good. We can never draw a sheep. It's not possible. We can only draw the image of a sheep. Okay. So
Mm-hmm.
just for some information, and after we will debate, of course. So here we have meaning generality and sound generality, yeah? Because in some textbooks, they would give the definition of a thought consciousness. It's cognition which apprehends the meaning generality and the sound generality as suitable to be mixed. Yeah. So, for instance, if you go for the first time, for like if you are French, for instance, you go for the first time in India, yeah, you never saw any mango, for instance, yeah. So people ask you to buy a mango, but you don't know what means mango, yeah, for instance, yeah. So they will come with you, they buy the mango, you eat the mango, and you know exactly that it is a fruit, which taste it has, and so on, but you don't necessarily know its name in Hindi, for instance, yeah? Okay, very good. Then after people, the people, local people will say, okay, we call it an yeah? We say yeah, I guess, yeah? In Hindi, yeah, for mango, yeah? Is that right? I'm not really sure now.
That's perfect.
Yeah, okay, good. Okay, so now you can mix both, yeah, the meaning and the sound, yeah. So that's why Yonzin Pulbuchog would say the definition of a thought consciousness is a cognition which apprehends both, yeah, the meaning generality and the sound generality as suitable to be mixed, yeah. So that's why, yeah. Yeah, cognition which apprehends the meaning generality and the sound generality as suitable to be mixed. Yeah, okay, very good. But some would give a shorter definition. They would say, okay, a cognition which apprehends a meaning generality and the sound generality. Yeah, yeah, the meaning and the sound. Yeah, some definitions would be like this. Yeah, they don't need to express all the cases. Yeah. Okay, and even some would say a cognition which apprehends the meaning of the sound. Yeah, so we will dive into that when we have the chance to study Lorik, I guess. Maybe I hope one time, one day. But yes, Paramila.
Why are we only talking about sound though? I mean, eyes would also have the same idea if you know what you're looking at. You have meaning generality and eyes generality, vision generality.
Mm, yeah, 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 okay. Yeah, because it comes from Acharya Dharmakirti, you know, when he gives description of the thought consciousness, he would say, Shegan, Gala, Daduzin, Deni de la Topayin. Yeah, for any consciousness, for any cognition which apprehends a meaning and a sound, or the meaning of the sound, it is a thought consciousness. Yeah, so it comes from the you know, the source, the highest authority, Acharya Dharmakirti the Great.
Okay.
Yeah, so,
And he didn't differentiate for the other touch, ear, eyes, nothing else, only sound.
yes, exactly. Yeah, because mainly when we think, we use some type of language. Yeah, yeah, when we think, we have some symbolic terms and so on, or symbolic images and so on. So that's why it's mainly about sound and meaning. But also in other textbooks, like in Panchen Sonadrakpa and so on, Panchen Sonadrakpa's book, they would say that sound generality is the object itself. That we speak about, yeah, or that we think about, yeah. So the object itself, but the meaning generality is necessarily not the object itself, yeah. So that's why they both appear to be mixed to the thought consciousness, yeah. When you think about your shoes appear to your thought consciousness mixed with the meaning generality, yeah. So they appear to the thought consciousness, but they are not the appearing object to the thought consciousness. Yeah, in the Gelugpa style, they would make some nuances. Okay, okay.
I
So
also have a question to that.
yes,
If you
please.
if you don't have a word for an object, then it could not appear to the thought consciousness. Like, for example, you go to India, you get somebody sells you a new fruit, you don't know this fruit. Okay, you have eaten this fruit, then you know this fruit, but you have no name for this fruit. So it can appear to the thought consciousness,
Yes,
but you
still,
don't have a word, you could not.
exactly. Yeah, it would appear because you still have the name fruit, the name eatable, edible, and so on. You have yeah, or some kind of object which has a form and a color and so on that you can eat. So you still have any word in one sense, yeah, for that. Of course, it's not the name that you call that you use it in another language, but still you have the name that you use in your language, yeah? A fruit and so on, yeah? You can even give it your name. That's the Zingrun fruit.
Okay, thank
So,
you.
so what you're saying is that a thought always uses words.
Yeah, in most cases, yeah, exactly. Yeah, in most cases, but mainly the meaning of the word, yeah, exactly. Mainly the meaning of the word.
Meaning
That's
of the word. So you would struggle with what is this meaning? What is this meaning? And you will go towards its meaning. But if you are, let's say, sitting in a temple and the bell is just ringing and you're
Yeah.
meditating and it's just the gong, 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 there's nothing. No, I mean, there's sound, yeah,
Yes.
but there's no addressed meaning to that sound.
Yes. Yes, exactly. That's why Zimbabwe Bochok says as suitable to be mixed. Yes, like if you hear for the first time a name in a foreign language, then it resonates in your mind. Like for instance, if you hear for the first time but you don't know what it means, you still have the resounding in your mind, but you don't connect it with the meaning. Yeah? So that's why on Simple Bootstrap says you can have the sound generated, you can have the meaning generated, and you can have both that are mixed. Yeah.
Oh,
So
thank
it's one interpretation, and not all people in the Gelugpa school would accept that. Yeah. Okay. Very good. Okay, so this we will see later. Good. Perfect. Perfect. So a meaning generality is necessarily, so could you remember the definition of a meaning generator of pot? Maybe I should put it again.
A superimposed factor, while not being a pot, appears like a pot to the thought consciousness of apprehension.
Fantastic. So good memory, yeah? I love you.
Fantastic.
So, okay. So that's why any thought consciousness is mistaken, yeah? Yeah. Okay. Okay. Did everyone study a little bit of logic? Mistaken consciousness, what does it mean? Yeah, Buddhist psychology, yeah? A mistaken consciousness. Yeah, what does it mean?
Mistaken consciousness is a consciousness which is mistaken with respect to its object of apprehension, object of appearance.
Yes, with respect to its appearing object, yeah, Chavila, yeah, very good. Yes, a mistaken consciousness is a cognition or a consciousness which is mistaken with regard to its appearing object. Yeah, its appearing object. Wow, fantastic. So it follows that any thought consciousness is mistaken.
Accept.
Yes, it is mistaken because when we think about cup, we have as the appearing object of our mind the superimposed factor, while not being a cup, appears to be a cup to it, yeah, to the thought consciousness apprehending it, yeah. Okay, so you can check also in knowing, naming, and negation some debates about that. Yeah, from Tendala Ramba, he would say he would give the a defender's position. Yeah, yeah. The defender's position says take the subject, the meaning generality of existent, for instance. Could you give the definition? The meaning generality of existent. You just replace pot by exist.
Okay. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I can read it right now.
No problem. I will put it again on the screen. It was here. Yes. Okay. Put it again here. Good. Okay. Yes. So the meaning generality of pot is a superimposed factor that, while not being a pot, appears like a pot to the thought consciousness apprehending it. So it follows we can posit the definition of a meaning generality of existent.
A superimposed factor that, while not being existent, appears like existence to the thought consciousness apprehending it.
Yeah, Chavila, very good. It follows then the meaning generality of existence doesn't exist.
Accept.
So we cannot think about existence.
No. No, we can. The thought consciousness of existence exists.
Okay.
Mistaken.
So it follows that the thought consciousness apprehending existence is not mistaken.
It is mistaken.
It is mistaken. So if it is mistaken, it follows that the superimposed factor, while being existent, appears like existent. The thought consciousness apprehending it.
Well, not being existent.
And not being existent, yeah? So it follows that the meaning generator of existence doesn't exist.
What does
Because
it mean, a superimposed factor?
yeah, it means that it doesn't really belong to the thing itself. Yeah, it is the thought consciousness which fabricates, in one sense, that generated, that meaning generator. Yeah, yeah. Superimposed factor. Dotaki cha. Yeah, dotapa means it is a superimposed. Yeah, how do you say? We exaggerate, in one sense. Our thought consciousness exaggerates that when we think about cup or pot and so on, we add something to the cup and to the pot and so on. But the cup and the pot, they can survive without that superimposed factor. Yeah? Yeah, it means that it is a conceptual abstraction, in one sense. Yeah.
So would that mean that so a cup is made of, a pot is made of clay, and because we understand the usability of this shape of clay, we're not calling it clay, we're calling it pot, because we're thinking, oh, I'll put water in it, and we're forgetting, or we're almost negating the clay because we're only seeing pot.
Yes. We only think about pot, yeah, because the thought consciousness is engaging through exclusion, yeah. We eliminate, the thought consciousness eliminates everything that is not just pot. Yeah, when we think about pot, we don't think about red pot, clay pot, round pot, just pot. Yeah. We could say the self-isolate of pot. Yeah. Okay.
Oh,
And in the same way, it's for existent.
Yes, exactly. So when we think about existent, yeah, we have
Mind would exclude everything else, but it doesn't think of not existent. It thinks of us.
Christophe, can you go to the previous that does not include description, because then now I understand why I said it the other way as well. You said it had a different meaning generality, had another definition other than superimposed.
Yes, like for instance, if you have the meaning generality of red pot, then it would be a superimposed factor that, while not being a red pot, appears like a red pot to the thought consciousness apprehending it. Yeah. So in this case, we exclude all that is not red pot. Yeah, we have non-red pot. Like just before in the previous definition, yeah, that which appears as opposite from not being a pot. Yeah, the double exclusion, yeah. We exclude everything that is not a pot. And what do we have if you exclude everything that is not pot? What do we
Pot.
have? Pot. Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Yeah. So that's why they would say that in the Sautrantika, but I guess in other schools that the thought consciousness is operating through exclusion. Yeah. Anya poha. Yeah. In Sanskrit. Yeah. We exclude everything that is not that thing. Yeah. That phenomenon. Yeah. Okay. Very good.
But I have a question, like, is it like that? Like, I mean, why do they do the definitions like in this double negation form? Because if I would now think of existent, I wouldn't, or if I think of pot, you know, like I have more the feeling I think of all things that are pots, right?
Mhm.
Okay, maybe
Yeah.
the feeling. For existence self, I wouldn't think of the non-existent, I would think of all things that exist of the
Yes. Yes, we explicitly think about existent and we explicitly think about pot, but this superimposed factor appears as a double negation, yeah, excludes everything that is not that. Because they would say, if otherwise we need to know all the pots in the universe in order to have the proper conceptual thought apprehending pot. So they say it's much more handy and easier just to exclude what is not pot, then we have access to pot.
But then you need to exclude all other phenomena that are not pot.
Yes. Exactly.
I mean, it's the same problem or other way around.
Yes, but in the negation, it seems to be easier if you negate. Yeah, you say okay, non-pot. Yeah, non-pot. You exclude that, and you have pot. Yeah. So yeah, and also they choose the negation because the debate with the Vaisheshikas, for instance, yeah, a non-Buddhist school, yeah, that would accept that everything that you think about has to be a real phenomenon. Yeah, if you say, okay, that cup, that red cup, which is mine, we would have three phenomena, three real phenomena. So I would still have many cups in my room. Yeah, but Acharya Dharmakirti says, no, if you think about the cup which is mine, the red cup and the cup, it's just one entity, one phenomenon. Of course, you have different phenomena when you think about red cup and red cup which is mine, but those phenomena are permanent in one sense, yeah, because they are meaning generalities in one sense, yeah. Yeah. Okay, so it's a very complicated topic, yeah? Very complicated. But if you are interested, you can, of course, read Recognizing Reality or Knowledge and Liberation and Knowing, Naming and Negation. So many good books about the Sautrantika. But if you don't have time, we can just slowly try to unfold the meaning of that, yeah? Yeah. So yes, it's a good reasoning, yeah, to say yes, in order to exclude non-pot, you have to know all the non-pots. But you cannot know all the non-pots, for instance. There are many non-pots which are not objects of knowledge. Yeah, we'll try to discuss about that, yeah, non-pot and so on. Yeah, we try to discuss about that. Yeah. Okay. So it follows that non-pot exists. Yes, okay. But if it is a non-pot, it doesn't necessarily exist. Welcome to confusion.
Why?
Ah, it follows that horn of the rabbit is a non-pot.
But also table is a non-pot.
Exactly. Yes. Table is a non. Yes, table is a non-pot. So that table, if it is a non-pot, it can exist, but it can also not exist. Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes,
The subject horn of the rabbit is not a pot.
yes,
It's not
agree.
a pot because.
Because it does not exist.
Yes, exactly. If it doesn't exist, it cannot be a pot. Very good. Okay. So, but there are many non-pods which exist. Yeah,
Yes,
Chavila, for instance, you said table, yeah? Yeah, the subject table is a non-pod because?
because it is not bulbous or has a flat base.
Exactly, yeah, if it is not bulbous, flat base, how do you say?
Impairing.
Flat base, bulbous, able to perform function to hold water, that's necessarily not a pod.
I accept it.
Okay, very good. Very good. Yeah, so that's why all the non-pods cannot be known. We can know only what exists.
Yes.
Yes. Oh, very good. It follows that horn of the rabbit is not an object.
Oh, it is not an object of knowledge.
Exactly. Yes, it's not an object of knowledge, and it's not an object because object and object of knowledge are equivalent, and so on. Yeah, it's not existent. It cannot be known by an awareness. Yeah. Okay. Very good. Very good. So, okay. Still, because yeah.
I can, my dream consciousness can dream of a horn of rabbit.
Yes.
So that is known by the awareness of my dream consciousness.
Okay. So it follows that if we imagine a square round exists.
In the imagination, it exists, no?
So if it exists only in the imagination, does it exist?
The meaning generality of it is existent.
Thank you.
The meaning generality of a square round exists. Okay. Very good. But it's only a meaning generated. There is no referent in reality. Eh? Okay, so that's why it's the object of the mode of apprehension of the thought consciousness apprehending it. But it's not the object of apprehension of the thought consciousness. Yeah, so Yunzin Pulbuchak would give some nuance. It's another way to say if it exists only for the imagination, it doesn't exist. Yeah.
So virtual reality today, or people are playing games, or Harry Potter. We buy tickets to, we spend money, real money, to go and experience this whole, thing. Has it come into existence when we are using real objects to attach to this meaning generality that we've created? We've bought a wand and like we're doing things, but it's all imagination, but we're actually using real things.
Yeah. Yeah, like a movie exists. Yeah. Yeah, and it follows also that the dreaming consciousness exists because we can remember.
Yeah.
So if we can remember something, it has to be known in the first place by valid cognition. Yeah. So the movie exists. Yeah. But what the movie shows?
Is
Yeah.
that superimposition? What the movie
Yes.
showed me is something that superimposed on things. Is that
Ex-
why
Exactly.
meaning generality exists? Because I superimposed things into the darkness of my dream.
Yes, exactly. Like when we say, okay, it follows that, for instance, okay, that Harry Potter is the headmaster of Hogwarts. No, why? Yeah, it follows that Harry Potter is not the headmaster of Hogwarts, except because it is Dumbledore. But all those things are just imaginations, and we could say common agreed on events. Yeah.
So then even our waking life, the pot and is mango, is agreed on conventions. Just in India, it was agreed on to call in Mexico, it's called mango. So we only agreed meaning generality with that sound.
Yes, exactly. that's why we can communicate and have a culture or different cultures and so on. Yeah, those phenomena are perfectly accurate. Yeah, but
So
we
then-
know. Yeah.
Why isn't it equal to rabbit horn in my dream and mango in Mexico? Why aren't they equal?
Yeah, yeah. For our brain would not make the distinction, between a mere fiction when you visualize something or when you remember something. Yeah, the brain doesn't make the distinction, but we are able to make the distinction. Yeah, if we are not able to make the distinction, then some people could say, "Okay, Christophe is crazy." Yeah, but they would be right if I cannot make the distinction between a rabbit and a rabbit horn. Yeah. So our mind, our valid cognition is able to distinguish both. Yeah. Yeah. We could say that if it exists, it has to be observed by valid cognition. So the dream of a horned rabbit exists, but the horn of the rabbit itself doesn't exist. Yeah.
Thank you.
Very good. Very good. Okay. Yeah. The horn of the rabbit doesn't exist because?
It's not available to a valid cognition.
Very good. So if it is not available to any valid cognition, it cannot exist.
Accept.
Yeah, very good. Yeah, or observed by valid cognition or established by valid cognition and so on. Yeah, very good. Okay, very good. Okay, so very good. So maybe we should keep on with those distinctions like a non-pot and so on in order to be sure that we all are on the same page. Okay, so it follows that you know the difference between non-pot and different from pot. Non-pot and different from pot. So we should ask ourselves also always the same questions. Do we find common base? Something which is exclusive to A and not B, B to not A, and so on. Non-pot and different from pot.
Equivalent, no?
Sorry?
Equivalent? They'd be equivalent, no?
Equivalent for Daniel.
I think 3P.
3P for Chavila. So, okay, so in both cases, you have common base, yeah? Equivalent and 3P, yeah? What would be the common base between non-pot and different from pot?
Table.
Yeah, table, the subject table, it follows that it is different from pot.
Accept.
Yes, it is different different from pot because?
Because
Not round, bulbous, and can't perform the function to hold water.
Yeah. Yeah, if it is not flat base, bulbous, able to hold water, it follows that it is different from pot. Okay, and table, the subject table, it follows that it is not a cup. What was not pot? Yeah, non-pot. Yeah.
yes.
It is a non-pot because?
The same reason for both right now.
Yes. Yeah, so we could say because it is contradictory with pot. Yeah. If it is contradictory with pot, it's necessarily not a pot.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, you can give other reasons. You could say because it exists and it is different from pot. Okay, different. Yeah, okay. Yeah, it exists and it is not one with pot. Yeah, to prove that it is different from pot. Yeah, it exists and it is not one with pot. So if
And
it exists and it is not one with pot, it's different from pot. And now to prove that it is a non-pot, yeah, because it's different with no common base with pot, it's contradictory with pot and so on. Yeah, very good. Okay, so the subject table is at the same time a non-pot and different from pot. Okay, interesting. So Daniel has equivalent. So maybe Chaviji, you could give a consequence. Yeah, if you found 3P, maybe you have something in your mind, so you could give a consequence to Daniel. Right? It follows that blah 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 is not that.
it follows that that horn of a rabbit is different from pot.
Wow.
Why?
Why? It follows that it is not different from pot.
Well,
It follows that it exists.
no, no, it's non-existent. So
Yes, and for something to be different from pot, it has to necessarily exist.
yes,
It has to exist because.
That's the definition of different.
Yes. Yes, very good. Because it has to be a diverse phenomenon from pot, yeah?
It has to
Okay.
be diverse from pot.
Very good, yeah. If it is a diverse phenomenon from pot, it has to be a phenomenon.
Mm.
Very good, okay. So 3P for Chaviji. So posit the perversion.
Whatever is different from pot is necessarily a non-pot, or whatever is a non-pot is not necessarily different from pot.
Yes. So it follows that the subject red pot is not a pot because it's different from pot.
why?
So in this case, we have as answers, yeah, the reason is not established or no perversion.
No,
Yeah. Because I give a reason, yeah.
the reason.
Follows
Yeah,
that
the
the
reason is not established.
subject red pot is not a pot, because is a non-pot because it is different from pot.
Yes, the reason is not established.
The subject red pot is not different from pot.
It's not contradictory.
Yeah, the subject red pot, is it a pot?
Yes.
Or red cup, is it a cup? Yeah. So, and the subject red pot, it follows that it is not one with pot. Yes. It is not one with pot because?
Because it because only the pot is one with pot.
Yes,
Yep.
exactly.
Yep.
Because only pot is one with pot, yeah? Yeah. Only pot is one with pot, yeah. For the thought consciousness, yeah, there is no distinction, yeah. Pot and pot. There's no distinction, yeah. So pot exists and it's not different from pot, yeah. Okay. But the red pot, it follows that it is different from pot.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. So it is a non-pot.
But it has to be contradictory from the pot.
In order to be non-pot?
Pot.
Interesting. Okay. It has to be contradictory with pot in order to be non-pot. So it follows that horn of the rabbit is contradictory with pot.
accept.
Oh, okay. Who, who remembers the definition of contradictory?
Oh, okay.
They are different and no common base, yeah?
Yes, yes,
Okay.
okay.
Okay, yeah.
Oh,
We could say that between non-pot and pot, there is no common base.
okay,
Yeah, it follows that there is no common base between non-pot and pot, yeah?
okay,
Okay. There is no common base because nothing can be non-pot and pot.
okay. Yes.
Very good. If you give that reason, that's okay. Yeah, we don't need to specify it's different because many non-pots are not different. Yeah, they don't exist. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Wow. Wow.
Mm.
Fantastic. So it follows that the subject red pot is a pot.
Red pot is a pot. Yes.
Yes.
Sometimes we tend to doubt many many obvious things like this. Yeah, with debate. Yeah, sometimes we tend to doubt. Is red pot a pot? Yeah.
But so I am doubting it because you just said a red pot is not one with pot.
Exactly.
Only pot can, but then red pot and pot is one to meaning generality. Like it comes as one entity. I'm not thinking of
Yeah.
red floating somewhere else and a pot somewhere else.
Yes. Red pot and pot are one entity. Yeah. Yeah, exactly. But
And if it's one entity, it's not one with itself.
that's a very good point. Very important point. That's why in the Madhyamaka we have this reasoning, yeah, not one, not different. Yeah? Because for the Sotrantika, if we accept inherent existence, we are forced to go to that direction. Yeah, if it is one entity and if it's inherently existent, then it has to be one. That's why Ariana Nagarjuna is checking, is the self one with the aggregates or separate from the aggregates? Because it comes from that point, that very point. Yeah. Wow, so interesting. Okay, so it follows that the subject red pot is a pot while different from pot. So the subject red pot is not a non-pot. Yeah, it follows that the subject red pot is not a non-pot.
Yes.
Sorry for those complications. Yeah. Yeah, maybe it's more handy for now to dive into that. Yeah, we will see the meaning generators after. Okay. Then we will clarify that point. Yeah. Okay. So yeah, Chaviji, yeah, the subject table is a non-pot and is different from pot. Yeah. But if it is different from pot, it's not necessarily a non-pot. Yeah. Like
Yeah.
red pot is a pot. It is different from pot. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
Very good. So we have an illustration of something which is B not A, which is different from pot, but it's not a non-pot. Yeah?
Yeah.
The subject red pot, yeah?
Hmm.
Good. And previously in the discussion, Chaviji, you found also something which is not a pot and is not different from pot, yeah? So something which is A, not B. It is a non-pot, but it is not different from pot. Yeah, it was Horn of the Rabbit, yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yes. Oh,
very good. Very good. So can we find something which is none of them? Non-pot and different from pot? Yeah, it is not a non-pot and it is not different from pot. No, there's nothing. So maybe it's 4p without something which is neither. But what about pot? It follows the subject pot is not a non-pot.
Yes,
Oh, it is not a non-pot because?
because it is a pot.
Yes. 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 Technically, we could say it. Yeah. Maybe Chanel Amashadu would say it's not a valid reasoning, but we understand that it's a valid reasoning. Yeah, we could say okay, because if you give a syllogism and there is no difference between the subject and the reason or the predicate and the reason and so on, they would say it's a fake reasoning, but we understand that it's a right one. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, we could say okay, the subject pot is not a non-pot because it is flat base, bulbous, and able to hold water. Yeah. Okay, very good. So, and the subject pot, it follows that it is not different from pot.
Neither different from pot. Yes.
Yes. So the subject pot is something which is neither non-pot and different from pot. Huh?
Yeah.
We have how many points do we have between non-pot and different from pot?
4p.
Yes, fantastic. Wow. Fantastic. Arya Manjusri should be so proud of you. Very
So,
good.
I doubt, Christopher. So you mentioned that when we're talking about one with itself, there is a distinction between one entity and one with itself.
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah.
Please.
We could say that yes. So like for instance, okay. Okay. So like for instance, the person and the aggregates of the person, it follows they are one entity. Yeah. Yeah.
Yes.
Not sure. We have doubt.
Are we
Okay.
talking about person is the mental continuum of the person? Is that what we're talking about? And its aggregates?
We would say that the person is the me or the I, which is imputed independence on all or parts of the aggregates. Yeah, like they would say, yeah, which is imputed independence on one or the other of the aggregates. Yeah, yeah, they would give the definition like this. Yeah. Okay, so the person, generally speaking, is an NECP. Yeah, is a functioning thing which is not the body and is not the mind. Yeah, usually speaking. Yeah, yeah. Okay, because for the Sotrantika, if they look for an illustration of the person, they would say they would give the mental consciousness, for instance. Yeah. So that's a bit specific. Yeah. Okay. But generally speaking, a person is an NECP. Yeah, is a functioning thing which is not form and not consciousness. Yeah. Okay. Very good. Okay. And the person is one substance or one entity with the aggregates of the person. Yeah. Because where you find, for instance, where you find Palaviji, you find Palaviji's aggregates. Yeah, you are not uh, for instance, my body is in my room, so I am in my room. I cannot be in the garden and my body in my room. Yeah, it's not possible. Eh? Even if I put many plants in my room, it's still not the garden.
But when you're daydreaming, your mental consciousness is outside in the garden and you're sitting in the,
So
your aggregates are sitting in the room, but you're like dreaming of something else.
yes. So does it mean that your mind is going there? Or is thinking about that? Is thinking about the garden. If we think about hells, our mind is going to hell. Wow, that would be horrible, no? Yeah. Okay, so we think about the hells and the other realms, and we think about the Buddha, but our mind is not going to Buddhahood. That would be so easy. Yeah, no need to debate again, yeah, which would close the debate class. Just think about Buddha and it's okay. So yeah, we think that we have the impression, the feeling that our mind is going there, you know, when you think about Hawaii or India and so on, it seems that you travel over there, yeah, for free. But it's not really the case, yeah. Your mind is just thinking about that, yeah. Okay, so it follows that where my body is, I am. Okay, so it follows that I and my body are one entity.
Yes.
Very good. But yes, for the Sautrantika, for the non-Prasangika, they accept inherent existence. So there would be a difficulty because the Prasangika would come and say, okay, you are forced to accept that if it inherently exists, and if it is one entity with something, then even your thought consciousness could not distinguish them. They have to be one. Yeah. Of course, the Prasangika is not accepting that, but it's a absurd consequence that they address to the Sautrantika, especially. Yeah, they would say, if you say, okay, the body, the person are one entity, and you accept inherent existence of the person and the body, so you are forced to accept that they are more than one entity, they are one. Okay, so that's why the Prasangika is checking. One of the reasonings used by the Prasangikas would be not one, not different. Yeah, is the person one with the body? Is that possible? It follows that the person is one with the body. Why? I hope.
Why?
Okay, it follows that the person is not one with the body of the person.
Accept.
It is not one, they are not one because?
Because body has many parts.
Yes. Okay. Yes. Okay. And the person doesn't have many parts.
Person is one.
Ah, okay. Yes. The person is one. Okay. So it follows that we cannot have Christophe, which is talking, Christophe, which is sitting, Christophe, which is debating. Follows that they are one.
Yes, but we're talking about body. Christophe is not head
Okay.
of Christophe and hand of Christophe and feet of Christophe.
Yes, exactly. Okay. So the body is, but the body is not one.
Yes.
It is one.
Yes.
Ah. The parts are many, but the whole is one, yeah?
Yes.
Okay. Okay. Very good. Okay. Yeah. So it follows that the person is not one with the body of the person.
Accept.
Accept. Okay. They are not one because?
Because a person is not body and not consciousness.
Exactly. Yes. Yes. If we were to say that the person is one with the body of the person, we could not say that Chaviji is clever, Palaviji is joyful, and Daniel is doubting what we think, what we speak about. He's reflecting, and so on. Yeah. We could not say so. Yeah? Because the body is not clever, the body is not joyful, and the body is not thinking. Yeah. Okay, so the person is not the body. The person, it follows that the person is different from the body. Yeah, we can even say the person is contradictory with the body of the person.
Yes.
Okay. I see. Raised eyebrows.
Yeah,
So in that case, we should investigate that. Okay. Yeah, because it's more, how do you say, crunchy, yeah, for our analytical meditations, yeah, to think about that. Yeah. Okay. Okay. So It follows, you know, the definition of an NACP, non-associated compositional phenomenon.
Yes.
Yes, which is?
It exists and it is not form and not consciousness.
So it follows that uncompounded space is an NACP.
Yes.
So it follows that uncompounded space, which is permanent, is one of the divisions of impermanent phenomena.
No.
No?
Compounded space is
It
an
exists. Yes, it exists, and it is not form nor consciousness, yeah?
Yeah.
So it follows that uncompounded space, which is permanent, is an NACP.
No.
Non-associated compositional phenomena. So
Non-compound, not non-compound space. Compounded space is an NACP.
yes, exactly. Yeah, compounded space is an NACP. Very good. Yes, very
Sorry,
good.
why is that?
So because compounded space, usually speaking, is one of the aggregates. Yeah, when we have the what fabrics the matter in the form aggregate, we have 4 elements and a 5th one as well. Yeah, the 5th one would be the compounded space in my nostrils, for instance.
Mhm.
Yeah, in that case, it has to be impermanent because it is one of the aggregates, and all the aggregates have to be impermanent necessarily.
So compounded space is impermanent. Why? Because now, but when your body falls apart, it'll fall apart. But
Yes.
uncompounded space is permanent.
Yeah, uncompounded space is permanent because it's a mere negation. It's a mere absence of obstructive contact. Yeah.
So
But
NACP is not permanent. It is impermanent.
exactly, because it is one of the 3 main divisions of impermanent. Yeah. We have form, consciousness or cognition, and NACP. Yeah.
Okay.
So if it is an NACP, it has to be impermanent. Yeah.
Got it.
Okay. Very good. Okay. So the person, okay. So the person is an NACP. And what is the definition of NACP?
It exists. It's not form. It's not conscious, and it is impermanent.
Yes, and it is impermanent. Yeah, yeah. We have to add it. Yeah, yeah. It has to be a functioning thing, which is not form nor consciousness. Wow, fantastic. Okay, so it follows that the person is an NACP. Yeah, so it follows that the person is impermanent and is not form. So if the person is not form, how can it be the body? Yeah, so it's not the body, yeah?
Oh.
Yeah, you're perfectly right. Very good. Very good. So it follows that the person is not the body. Yeah? It's contradictory with the body. There is no common base between form and that which is not form. Wow, fantastic. So the person is contradictory with the body of the person. Very good. So they are different, they are contradictory, but they are one entity. Yeah. Okay. Because where you find one, you have to find the other.
Yes.
Very good. Yeah. But if we accept inherent existence, then in that case, we are forced to accept that more than being one entity, they would be undistinguished by thought consciousness. They have to be one. Inherently, one entity means one. Even the thought consciousness could not distinguish them. So that's why Ariana Garjuna in the chapter 18 and also 22 is checking for the person, and the Tathagata also. Are we one with the aggregates or separate from the aggregates? Yeah, so the person is not one with the aggregates. So the other option could be, okay, the person is different from the aggregates. This we accept in the Sotrantika and the Prasangika as well. Yeah, the person is different from the aggregates because the subject, the person, the subject, the two, the person, and the aggregates of the person are different because
they are diverse phenomena.
yes, exactly. Yes, if they are diverse phenomena, they are necessarily different. Okay, very good, very good. So this we accept, yeah. Conventionally speaking, the person is necessarily different from the aggregates of the person, yeah. We have 5 aggregates and 1 person. Yeah? How could they be one? Yeah? So if they exist and they are not one, they are necessarily different. Okay, but still for the non-prasangika, they still accept inherent existence. So if they are different and inherently existing, then they are different entities. Yeah. So the prasangika would say you are forced to accept that the person and the aggregates are separate, are different entities because they are different, and you accept inherent existence. So they should be even different for the not only for the thought consciousness, but also for the direct perception, which is not true. So the prasangika, they're so clever, they would say, okay, if it is not one and not different, can it exist?
No. It's the horn of a rabbit. It's the dream imagination.
Yes, like because one and different is an exhaustive division of one and different, yeah. One and different is an exhaustive division of existence. If it exists, it has to be one or different, yeah. Do you agree? Yeah, it's like permanent and impermanent. If it exists, it has to be permanent or impermanent. If it exists, it has to be one or different, yeah. Okay, so now the prasangika says, okay, the inherent person is not one with the aggregates and is not different from the aggregates. So is not separate from the aggregates, so it doesn't exist. If it is not one nor different, it doesn't exist. That's the reasoning, one of the reasonings of the prasangika especially, yeah? So there is no inherent person because it is on one side is not inherently one with the aggregates. On the other side, it's not inherently different from the aggregates. If it's not one and not different, it just cannot exist. There is no inherent person. Ah, beautiful, yeah? Okay, maybe it's too much for today. So,
Yes.
so thank you so much to have participated to those debates because they are very, very crucial for the analytical meditation and so on. So we will, next time, we'll try to dive again into that, one and different, to be sure that it's that everybody feels comfortable with those notions. Then after we'll go into crunchy topics like meaning generalities and so on, yeah?
Is there anything I can read, Christophe, that will help me understand this different from pot and one with pot? I didn't understand that at all.
Yeah, one and different. Okay.
Because you said, yeah, I'll listen to the debate again, but the red pot is not
Yeah.
red pot is a pot while different from pot is not something I understand.
Yes. So that's why we will debate about that next time.
Okay, all right.
Okay. Thank you, everyone. It was a great pleasure, like usually. Thank you, Chaviji, for your help for recording and so on. And then try to think about those points if you wish. Just to think about, okay, how the thought consciousness is able to distinguish things or not, yeah? Okay, thank you so much. And for the sake of all the beings, as usually, yeah? Thank you. See you next time.
Thank you.
Bye-bye. Pleasure.
Thanks.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.